Welcome back to another episode of Iron Towns Engineering. As you saw in the last video, hot side's basically done. We're just waiting for some heat wrap to come for the Y pipe. Finish doing that up because the heat wrap I had, obviously you run out with just a couple of meters shy, so you have to buy a whole new roll. So we're waiting for that still, and then all the turbo side will be back on. And what we're going to do in this one is the thing that everyone hates to do, but you've got to do it because it looks great, everything comes up lovely, and you need to do it. Just don't be sloppy, just do it. And we're going to be washing the cold side basically. So we're going to be washing it, degreasing it, maybe cleaning it up on the wire wheel, and then it's all going to be painted and stuff like that, and it'll all go back on the engine looking as fresh as the engine does. All the injectors are out. I've got the fuel rail off. I've got the injectors out. I've got all new O-rings, new insulator rings, stuff like that. All new gaskets for everything. So everything will be basically brand new, like brand new from factory kind of thing. They are Toyota gaskets and stuff like that as well. I didn't cheap out on them. I just thought like I only got to do it once. So first thing we've got to do is remove the loom from this intake manifold. And as some of you have always probably handled these already, you can see just how much is actually in this inlet manifold. So we need to get that all apart, and then I'll show you my secret method. I call it secret, but everyone knows about it. Method for cleaning and degreasing all of these bits ready for paint. So let's crack on.
Here we got the other part of the inlet manifold. This is the part that actually bolts to the head. This obviously supplies the fuel rail, injectors. Yeah, basically that's the fuel system of the car. So we've got to be washing this. We're going to be cleaning all the injectors out. We're going to be testing the injectors like I did on a 7M. I've done a little bench system and that to clean them all out of any crap, any varnish, any old fuel, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to be doing that because look at the state these are in. I mean, yeah, they've seen better days. But we've got all new O-rings for them, like I say, all new insulated sleeves, all that kind of stuff. Like I say, the fuel rails and stuff themselves, I mean, look at that, it's filthy, man. So yeah, we're going to be cleaning all this up. Same with this one, look at that. Any old oil and stuff that gets on the top of them, just going to sit there and bake on. So yeah, let's get on with cleaning them. Well, I say let's get on with cleaning them. What I mean is, let's dismantle the inlet manifold first, and then we'll clean it all together. We've got one stripped down inlet, all sensors, all nuts and bolts, all pipes, everything like that gone. You can see how dirty it is because I just fucking picked it up and it's mucked my hands up. We've got one throttle body as well. I don't think this one will be getting the clean that the rest of them will. This will still be cleaned up. I'll clean it up myself by hand, make sure everything's degreased and stuff like that. I have an ultimate fear of throttle position sensors. I absolutely despise them. So I'm going to try my best not to take that off, really. But yeah, so we're going to clean all of these up, and then we're going to get them all painted, and yeah, then it's going to look magic. This is my secret technique on how we're going to get all these clean. Now, as you can see, some of them are absolutely filthy. I've already put them through a degreaser just to get some of the crud off, basically, and to help it break down. Now, if you're going to use your dishwasher, for the love of God, make sure your missus is out, or if she's alright with it. Luckily, Vicky's out at the minute, but I'm fairly sure she'll be alright with it. When you're done doing it and cleaning them, give the dishwasher rinses, as in like let it run through a cycle with nothing in it, just to get any of the grime and crap out of it if you're still using it to clean your dishes. Also as well, when you're using a proper detergent or something like that, make sure you use something that's aluminium friendly, just because it could wreck it, it could just ruin it. So yeah, just be careful with that. So these are now going to go in as dirty as they are, and we'll see what the finished product is in a minute. Time has just gone off, let's see what got. Lovely. Oh, let's clean them up a treat. Inside and out. Yeah. Now what we can do is take them all back to the workshop, give them a light scuff with some 240 grit, and get them etch primed, get them painted. So now I've got a lot of stuff painted. So I wanted to clean out the injectors because obviously, well, I ain't cleaned them out before in my life, and they've been through numerous tanks of fuel with crap running through it. So I wanted to clean the injectors out. I thought that I was going to get away with doing it the same way I done with my 7M injectors, in which case I made a little rig up with a bottle of carb cleaner, going down to a thin nozzle, piped onto the top of the injector. And the idea was that you sprayed the carb cleaner into it, and then you pulse the injector on a battery, and it'd squirt it through, and you'd let it sit, and it'd get rid of any deposits or anything that was in the injector. Unfortunately, they were top feed injectors, and these ones, as you can see, are side feed injectors. So in order to clean them out, you can't put something on the top. It just doesn't feed that way. They feed through these little filters here. So the only way I can really get around that is by putting it back in the fuel rail itself. So what we're going to do, we're going to put all these back in the fuel, well, those ones are already back in. We're going to put this one back in the fuel rail, and then we're going to have to make some little rig up to be able to clean these injectors in this fuel rail. My idea is, I've plugged up this end here. I'm going to put this on an angle. I'm going to squirt carb cleaner all the way in until I know that it's basically all the way through the fuel rail. And then one by one, I'm going to pulse the injectors and get them to squirt out nice clean fluid, and then we're going to let it sit for a day, and then we're going to do it again, and just try and get all of the residue that might be lurking inside these injectors out. These are still the OEM 1J injectors. I've got no problem with them, and I've got no reason to upgrade them, so I'm just going to try and give them a refresh so they're brand new, and we'll go from there. So I'll set the rig up, guys, and I'll show you what I'm about to do. This is a setup I've come up with. it's pretty bodgy, if I'm honest with you. Ideally, what you really would have is a bolt in here, and it'd be on a pressurized container, pressurized vessel or something like that, so that it actually shoots it down and shoots it out like it's meant to out on an injector. But because we want it to sit overnight and just basically, well, just get any deposits and all that out and then do something like that, this is what I've come up with. It's basically just a drip system. So what you do is you take your card cleaner or whatever, you just spray it in there quite liberally until it starts to come out, which would tell me that fluid has gone all the way down and is now backing up to here. It's been loaded quite a lot, so that's why it's filled up quite quick. It won't be that quick if you have an empty rail. Plugged off this end as well, so nothing can get there. And then I've just made this quick little harness here, 2 crocodile clips, one on positive, one on negative, and my little motorbike battery for the time being. And the idea is what you do is you touch on the 2 terminals like this. It'll open the injector up and fuel will start coming through the injector. Now, obviously that, if the whole thing was pressurised and it was doing that, your injector has had it. But because there's no pressure behind it, it's actually just like drip feeding it. That's all you're going to get. You're going to get a dribble essentially. So the idea was that it will get a dribble right now, so I know that the carb cleaner is going through the injector. Now I know it's going through the injector, I'll leave it in there just to see if it picks up any deposits, dissolves anything in there, or anything like that. Basically, it'll clean out the injector overnight, and then in the morning or tomorrow at work, I'll take the injectors and the fuel rail to work, and if I have time, I'll make up a pressurised system to actually squirt it out like an injector. I'd like to check them out like that properly. It's quite bizarre though, because with this one, obviously, it seems like you need the pressurised unit, but on the 7M injectors, you didn't. But I'm not sure whether or not it was working off the pressure from the can, because everything was hooked up to it, and it has a pressurised can, or what. But they worked like actual injectors if you done cleaning like this individually from the top feed. So, yeah, it might just be how the models are, but yeah, we'll have to do that properly, and we'll report back. Right, well, I took it to work and I made a adapter for the fuel line and my air gun blower. Basically, it was just a M12 by 1.25 adapter into there, which is the same size as the banjo bolt, to like an M10 by 1 thread, which goes into the end of the air gun. The idea is I'm just going to connect my compressor up to it, blow it down so it gets a bit of pressure down. I hope it doesn't jump at the end here and shoot clean product everywhere. But we're basically going to do that, and we're going to pulse the injectors and see how it goes. As you can see, we get pressure, but it's obviously leaking out, I think, from the gun itself, so we have to be quite quick with it. So if you just blast it like that, quick touch on, the injector's flushing itself out. So I've got the stainless wide pipe from a mate Dale today at Little Car Meet. Now, that's what we're dealing with instead of that. It's this big, heavy, restrictive wide pipe now being replaced with this one. Now, you don't normally see many of these about. This one's out of whack, but I think that was for, well, he told me it was for clearance because this came off a JZX90. So that was to clear the steering column. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to need it, if I'm honest with you, but I don't want to take it out and then realise that I do need it. So we'll put it together as is, and if it doesn't need it at some point, I'll probably pull it out and pull the bend back out. But for now, what we're going to do is we've got to make a bung up for this sensor plug here. Pretty sure the lambda sensor is going to go in this one here, because that's where the 2 pipes will intersect, and that was where it was on that one. But we're also going to heat wrap it. So yeah, let's get on with that fun little chore. on the Y pipe, we ran out of heat wrap. Literally about half a metre of heat wrap. So it took about a week for a new heat wrap to turn up. So we've got it all done now. It's not exactly the prettiest thing in the world, but it should work. So we've got all the Y pipe now heat wrapped, ready to go. New lambda sensor in. We've plugged up the hole here. There's a hole here as well, which I assume was for exhaust temp, because it's only going from one pipe, whereas obviously the lambda comes from both of them. But now that the Y pipe's now all sorted, we can now put the turbos back together with the coolant lines, and that's basically ready to go back on the engine when the pipe work and stuff like that are underneath the turbos are all painted. So let's put it back together. We also got this full turbo rebuild gasket kit from JDM Garage. If you need them, they come with all the metal gaskets, everything that you need for the turbos and the Y pipe and all that. Weren't too badly priced, to be fair, especially since they're all Toyota OEM gaskets, so you know they're going to be good quality. It's always great when you go to put this on and you find out that some bits don't fit. This standard Torx nut from Toyota has the washer already on the bottom of it, and that's now hitting on the weld, so I'm going to have to take that nut off and just shave down the washer a little bit. As is the way with aftermarket parts, we're running into a couple of issues. Main one being at the minute with this side is this stud here, when it passes through, hits the pipe. So the stud's too long. So I need to get the stud out and make a smaller one, because it looks like on the other side, the other side's the one where it's missing. So I need to make a small, I was going to make a small one for that one anyway, so yeah, we'll have to get that stud out of there and try again. Alright, so that was a bit of a mission. I had to take out the stud, which was here, because it was hitting on there. And when I put it all back together, it just didn't look like you'd get away with having the 3 studs instead of the 4. So I shortened that stud down and put it in there. And it only just got enough room to get a standard like M8 bolt, M8 nut in there. You can't get a bolt in there, it's just not enough room. You've only got enough room for that. And as you're doing it up, there's like hardly any room to actually turn it either. The spanner wants to hit on the actual exhaust itself. Absolutely nightmare. But it's in. It's now in. It's clamped. It's done. In this side though, the one that was sheared off, I did re-tap it in the housing, and you're able to get a 20mm M8 bolt in there as it is. So you just thread it straight in, and it goes straight in. It's great. So now we've got the twins together with the Y pipe. So now we've got to put the coolant lines on there with their new gaskets, and then essentially she's ready to go back on. That's the twin system, all rebuilt, all repainted, new Y pipe, ready to go back on. We can't put it back on yet because we need to do some more bits and pieces on the pipe, so let's do that first.
And a couple of days later, everything looks like this. Everything's been painted, everything's been degreased, cleaned, prepped, primed, painted, all gaskets have been replaced if needed, and everything's pretty much ready to go back on the engine now. As you can see behind me here, everything is done near enough. We've got alternator, power steering pump, oil filter, relocate a bit, engine brackets, throttle, body, intake hoses and pipes and everything. Everything is painted and clean. That took an absolute age to do, but the devil's in the detail, guys. It's just, I've always thought it looks so much better if you actually take it apart, service it, and then do it all properly rather than try and bodge it together. We're still waiting on a few bits from Toyota. We had to get a couple of metal gaskets which weren't included in the JDM Garage 1J rebuild kit. One was the throttle body gasket. The other one was the IACV gasket, and because they're like pressed metal with like a kind of subtly ridged edge, where when you clamp it together, it all squashes it down. I didn't want to use the old ones again, so I've got to order them again. And yeah, and obviously you know what it's like at the minute with Toyota and postage and everything from Japan and blah blah blah. So we're waiting for them, and then everything can start going back together. The other thing as well, what we're now waiting for, was I wanted to replace all the old hoses with new silicone ones if I could. Obviously, don't use silicone on anything that needs oil or fuel. Use the nitrate hoses like you should do. But they don't do a kit. No one does a kit for a 1J. I had to get every hose together and kind of work out what angle I needed, what diameter I needed, what couplers I needed if I needed anything, and all of that. So everything's now on the way to me, but I think they're coming from quite far afield, so it's going to be a couple of weeks of waiting before anything can actually start going back on. Other than that, like the fuel rail can be rebuilt with new O-rings and stuff like that. It's just, yeah, just basically waiting for these bits and pieces, and then everything can start going back on the engine. Now, I know it's been quite a boring episode, guys, but it's one of them ones where you just have to do it. I mean, I could have probably skipped all of this, but you need to show people like how time-consuming this kind of stuff is. It's only been summed up in a couple-minute video, but this is a couple of weeks' work with all of this, like after my actual paying day job to get all this done. So yeah, just bear with me, obviously, and things will get a bit more exciting in the future. I fucking hope. But yeah, so anyway, that's all for today, guys. So if you can like and subscribe and share about and all of that, I'm going to keep doing it whether or not you're going to actually do that, because I'm enjoying it so far. So yeah, cheers for watching, cheers for sticking it out if you stuck out the whole length of the video, and I'll see you again for the next one.